a specific kind of tool, like a little camera that he would use as an OBGYN and a cancer doctor. And yes, it reportedly racked up to be millions of dollars, but he was also apparently seeing a ton of patients, and patients that, well, if left untreated, could end up in a really bad spot in regards to cancer and maybe even death. He has sent us a bunch of charts tonight, some things. I want to interview him and try to figure out what's going on, because it seems now to be a trend by the federal government going after medical doctors. And I'm trying to figure out if this is for the purpose of sending a message to doctors when it comes to who they treat. Is this about really socialized medicine, that certain people or certain demographics, we're not going to treat those people? I know it sounds harsh, but these are legitimate questions. Now, again, you need to do your own homework on his case, make your own decision. But all I can do as a journalist is ask questions. And if the prosecutor that was involved in this case wants to come on the program and tell us his side, fine, come on, be glad to interview you. But the case, Dr. Thorpe, he's the one I've trusted on this. He has said something doesn't seem right here. It seems like this guy's being railroaded. You should highlight the case. So we're going to do that tonight. Because again, it seems to be a growing national trend. So we're going to have that doctor on, Brent Taylor and Nick Holscher. A new peer-reviewed study, indeed, overwhelmingly linking vaccination to autism. Also, what about your fish? Salmon. How many of you like to eat salmon? My wife likes to feed me salmon because it's supposedly healthy. Turns out certain salmon raised in certain ways may have a lot of vaccines in them. I'm going to show you a video tonight, have Nick talk about it. Okay? Let's get to it. Okay, before we do, we have a brand new spot that Logan created. As you know, I got my new commentary coming out this fall where I teach verse by verse through the book of Revelation. Took that 53 hours and turned it into a book. And I'm still editing on it. I'm still reading on it. I'm about done. Close, getting there. Here's volume 3. Been reading on volume 3. And today I decided to add some things after each chapter. We're going to obviously have a little study guide where I'll ask a series of questions and you can then answer them. I'm going to give you a good 4 lines per question, because I don't like it when you have study guides and they give you 2 lines and you have to write like a, small little point print. So we give you like 4 lines per question, and you can look up some Bible verses and use this as a study guide, a Bible study for yourself, you and your spouse, your kids, maybe a Bible study you form with family or friends or neighbors. That'll be at the back of each chapter, a worksheet, a little study worksheet. And then I want to do a synopsis of what we just learned, like bullet points. What did we just learn in this chapter? So that you can memorize those bullet points and kind of rehearse in your mind what it is you just learned. And then if you want to go back, you can review what we learned in chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and kind of get the big overview. Then I want to have a section, and that section, by the way, is also going to be like fast facts on Revelation. Fast facts. Here are some fast facts that we learned in this lesson you should remember. Because review is so important if you want to understand the big picture and keep all of this straight in your mind as you build line upon line. So a little study section after each chapter, fast facts on Revelation at the end of each chapter. And thirdly, I'm adding in a section, how the stage is being set for the fulfillment of Revelation. How the stage is being set for the fulfillment of Revelation. Because a lot of these prophecies, they're not being carried out right now. The stage is just being set. The book really begins in earnest in chapter 3. So we want to, in fact, let me go there real quick. Let me show you something. Go to Revelation chapter 1, okay? And we have the introduction, the benediction, greetings to the seven churches, vision of the Son of Man, what it's all about. Then we go to Revelation chapter 2, and look at that. Now you're starting in on the seven churches, okay? And you go on to Revelation chapter 3, and you've got the seven churches, and the final one, the church of Laodicea, the seventh church. Then you get into chapter 4, okay? So everything up to chapter 3, 1, 2, and 3, could be today, because the churches, the seven churches, represent all of really the churches down through the church age to today and to the end of the church age when the church is removed. And we see these different types of churches around today represented in these seven churches. But then when you get to Revelation chapter 4, wow, now the scene changes and a door is open, standing open in heaven. Now, everything from chapter 4 forward is future. So it's not happening from chapter 4, verse 1 to the end of the book. That's all future. So these prophecies aren't being fulfilled yet, but the stage setting is there. The conditions are there. Many of the things that are going to be needed, like a mark of the beast, well, that technology is clearly being built now. The one world religion and the one world church, as described in Revelation chapter 17, verse 1. Clearly, we see the signs for the ecumenicalism and the syncretism and the convergence of ideas and religious beliefs and philosophies converging for a world church, a false world global system. So I want to have at the end of each chapter how things that are unfolding to help set the stage for the fulfillment of Revelation. And you're going to be able to write down things that you're watching in the news and say, I'm watching this, and this looks like, it can't be dogmatic in some areas, but this sure looks like it's setting the stage for these future events to come to pass, like central bank digital currencies, the mark of the beast system, social credit scores, all these kind of things, right? So you're going to be able to write down and journal things that you're watching in the news, because as soon as this book comes out, there are going to be things happening in the news that I won't be able to report on, because not in the books will be printed. But you can keep it updated by saying, hey, and you put down the date. Since I got this book, here in January of 2027, look at, this is in the news. This relates to what we were studying in this chapter. So it's going to have these very specific things at the end of each chapter. Then it's going to have a powerful index, because you say, I want to look up wherever he talks about the mark of the beast or the false prophet or the Antichrist. So it would be a wonderful index. So it's going to be a very exciting, I think, project. And it's the first of many books, okay? And we're going to keep these in a series. So you have the Revelation commentaries. They're going to have a certain look to them. They're going to have this brown leather hardcover looking cover with gold writing, the 2 volumes. My book on why I'm a Christian Zionist will also have that same look, the same size, the same look, same gold lettering, same gold spine. Obviously, it won't say Revelation because it'll be about Christian Zionism. Then my book on Hamas. Then I'm going to release a book on refuting the false teaching of Calvinism. Then I've got a book I'm going to work on. I've already actually been writing, and I've written something similar to it, but I'm going to put it into one book, a encyclopedia on biblical worldview. And whether it's active euthanasia, abortion, capital punishment, pantheism, all is God, panentheism, God is in all, the New Age movement, reincarnation, whatever you can think of. You're going to be able to go to this encyclopedia-looking book, hardcover, and you're going to be able to look up, what is pantheism? What is reincarnation? What's the New Age movement? What's that about? What's secular humanism? And these will be things you can read and learn, and many of you know these things already, but you could certainly help your children and your grandchildren with it. And you're going to be able to create a library that you can collect, that I hope you can pass on to your children or grandchildren, or at least a child or a grandchild or two is going to be interested in this. Or maybe we can get them interested in it. But it's going to be a series of books, and they're all going to have that same look, so it can be a collection like an old Britannica encyclopedia set, right? So this is a big project. I'm excited about it. Now, Logan, our vice president of operations, and my son, has done a great job with a brand new spot. And before we get started tonight, I want to bring you this brand new spot we just released today. Watch this. Friends, this is Brandon Howes. For more than a year now, I've been teaching through the book of Revelation, and the response from you has been overwhelming. You've asked me again and again, when are you going to put this study in print? We want to mark it up. We want to share it with our families. Well, it's here. My brand new 2-volume commentary on the book of Revelation, verse by verse, chapter by chapter. This is not a watered down, allegorized replacement theology approach to Revelation. This is a literal, grammatical, historical study, the way the Lord intended his word to be read. And I connect the prophecy of Revelation to the headlines you're watching unfold right now, the rise of global government and the convergence of end-time events the Lord Jesus warned us about. Folks, we are living in serious days, and there has never been a more important time to understand what God has told us about what is coming. Get your 2-volume Revelation commentary today at worldviewstore.com. That's worldviewstore.com. Well, there you go. Great job, Logan. He's very talented, isn't he? He gets that from his mother and his grandfather on his mother's side, and from his grandfather on my side, who's very computer savvy and working on computers back when they would fill a whole basement in the U.S. Department of Agriculture. No joke. Been down there when I was a kid. He took me down there. Floor to ceiling. Today, they would probably sit on a desk, one. But his grandfather on his mother's side is an architect who's also very good at, and his mother is very good at styling things and composing things. So he comes from a family, a line that converges and gives you Logan House, who's very good at creating what you just saw. I couldn't do that. Don't know how to do that. I'm glad he's on our team, aren't you? So that is a brand new spot today he just produced. So we're excited because this is not going to be just 2 books. This is going to be a series of books that all have this same professional, beautiful styling and look. And they're going to be on Revelation, Daniel, a biblical worldview, a encyclopedia, applying a biblical worldview to the big issues and the moral dilemmas of the day, understanding the various competing worldviews of the day. We're going to have a book on Hamas, Islam, terrorism. We're going to have a book on refuting the false teaching of Calvinism. We have the book on brainwashing. I'm working and finishing up my 3rd-part series on brainwashing, Brainwashed America Part 3, the documentary. That'll be out this fall. We're also turning that entire, what is that, like 12 hours or more? We're turning that into a book, and that'll be a book specifically on understanding brainwashing, misinformation, disinformation, the real misinformation, disinformation, psychological processes, things like, I know it's a big word, dialectical materialism. That's a big word. Your eyes roll back in your head. Oh boy. But it's really not that complicated. And if you understand dialectical materialism, you'll understand what's going on. If you don't understand dialectical materialism, you won't have a full comprehension of how it is they're getting Americans to destroy their own country. Because it has to do with cognitive dissonance. All of this is in this series on brainwashing. It'll be a whole brand new book, and it'll have that same look as the Revelation book, obviously with a different title. So you can set these out on a desk, an end table, a credenza, bookshelves, and it's going to look very presentable. And it'll be something I hope you'll want to pass on to your family members. So we're extremely busy around here, but we're loving it. Jill's busy, my editor. I'm busy. Logan's busy. Our guy that's laying out, Jonathan, who's laying the pages out, is busy. Jeb, who designs the covers, is busy. So there's a lot going on around here. And this fall, we're going to be releasing an awful lot. So go ahead, get your pre-order in, if you would, of the Revelation commentary. Another announcement I made today, the print is going to be 14 point. Someone actually I saw ordered it today saying, I wasn't so sure, but when I heard you say it's 14 point, I decided to order it. Yeah, I'm very aware that my demographic is 50 years old plus. Not that there aren't some younger folks, but I have a very strong demographic with the 50 plus crowd. And I'm very sensitive to your eyesight and mine because I can't read without reading glasses. And I love typing and writing my books in 14 point. That's what I write and type in, 14 point. So why would I not want to read a book in 14 point? I do want to. And I know you probably do as well. So it'll be 14 point. So go ahead, get your order in. It'll be out this fall. You're doing a pre-order. You get both books, 1,700 pages, thereabout, for $99, both, the whole set. All right? Worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. Now, Logan, do you have another spot for us to watch real quick? I do. This will be the first time it's aired, right? The one I'm hearing in there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen the one you're playing right now. Okay, but you showed me another one today. Can I watch that one? Now, he created this today. And this will be the first time it airs. And with all that's going on in the world today, folks, look, the poly crisis, I talked about it on the Worldview Report tonight. The World Economic Forum said a few years ago, we're going to have a poly crisis. Remember, they told us a pandemic was coming. Voila. When these guys tell you stuff, we should believe them. I don't know. I think it's kind of their new age paganism that somehow they believe gives them, permission to do these things without messing up their karma if they have told us in advance. So when they tell you things, you might want to pay attention because I sure do. I got about 3 years worth of food, enough for my family and the guys in the control room, and then enough to barter with. Because we're now at 100%. Our annual debt now is equal to our GDP, 100%. Debt to GDP. That hasn't happened since World War II. And it's not going to get corrected this time. The debt under Ronald Reagan was $1 trillion. Now our interest on the debt every year is $1 trillion. Can you imagine if you had told Ronald Reagan that? President Reagan, I know the debt's $1 trillion, but in 2026, the interest on the debt itself will be $1 trillion every year. Can you imagine what his facial expression would have been? Folks, this can't continue. History shows it. And I don't know about you, but I certainly do not want to be standing in bread lines and counting on the government to feed me. Not to mention, are you really wanting to take their food and eat it? Can you imagine what they will have put in that food? If they're willing to give us the bio shot, and we're going to hear from Nick tonight, about the CIA whistleblower saying that they all knew, the CIA and these guys all covered up, they knew this virus, this COVID came from Wuhan Institute that they were all funding. If they're willing to then inject us with bioshots, which I didn't take it, but if they're willing to inject millions of people with that, what do you think they would be willing to put in the food? So do you really want to stand in a bread line or food line and eat their food? Isn't it what Michael Weiner, his dad, used to say? If you don't trust who's cooking, then don't eat the meal. I don't trust the cooks. So you better have your own food. And if you got inflation, hyperinflation, if you've got supply chain issues, if you have an issue with fertilizer and then you have low crop production, if you have droughts, you have a lot of reasons to say, these guys are telling us a poly crisis is coming. Oh, and then add in a pandemic, a plandemic. And we saw what happened with food and canned soup and meat and paper towels and toilet paper in 2020 with COVID. You might, again, want to make sure you're stocked up and added in enough for bartering with. Okay? So with that, I asked Logan to create us a new spot, and apparently he did. I saw it, and now I want you to see it for the first time. Watch this, and then we'll go to our first guest. Watch this.
The storm hits. The power's out. The stores are empty. Grocery shelves cleared in hours. And now you're staring into an empty pantry, wondering how you're going to feed your family. It doesn't have to be that way. Worldview Store offers premium emergency freeze-dried food, real meals packed with nutrition, ready when you need them most. Hearty breakfasts, savory dinners, hot, satisfying food for your whole family. With a shelf life of up to 25 years, you store it once and forget about it until the day you need it. Just add water. In minutes, you've got a hot, delicious meal. No refrigeration, no fuss, no panic. Hurricanes, blackouts, job loss, supply shortages, whatever comes, you'll be ready. Don't wait for the next emergency to wish you'd prepared. Visit worldviewstore.com. That's worldviewstore.com or call 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652.
Yeah, great job, Logan. And by the way, that food, it's real food, folks. It's just freeze-dried. And when you eat it, it is really, really good. In fact, we put it in front of people, told them later that was freeze-dried. They couldn't believe it. So there you go, worldviewstore.com. Now, I want to go to an interview I pre-taped today with State Senator Brent Taylor, okay? Pre-taped it. I want to go to that. And then we're going to go to Nick Holscher and then this doctor that I've been telling you about. But again, remember, we're brought to you by you, worldviewstore.com. Also, remember, Numi, that's glutathione, detox your cells. Studies show can help remove lead and mercury from your brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. Talking about preparation, make sure you have your satellite phone, your solar generator like I have. I have the satellite phone. I have a solar generator. I have the bulletproof book backpack. I have several things at worldviewtalk.com. The Gatatana, drink it every night for dinner. You have half a scoop every day to Dolly. 90 billion plant cells, the equivalent thereof in one little scoop. The water purifier. Get that water filter for your shower, your kitchen sink. MelissaProtein.com. MelissaProtein.com. She's turning into a beast, Logan. She's got the protein going, which is toning her up and helping her get more muscle mass. And she's working out with some weights. Not aggressively, but enough to help. So she loves this. She's very positive about this. Gives her a lot of energy too, she says. MelissaHouseProtein.com. Okay. And then, of course, you want to get your antibiotics and be your own urgent care. Check all that out. Worldview Gold. If you want to get silver, I did old commentary tonight on silver for the Worldview Report. Yeah, go to worldviewgold.com. They also can sell you silver. Not only the freshly minted, but they can get you the numismatic silver too that's off the radar, collectible. There's no reporting to the government that you just bought a bunch of silver. So again, check it out, worldviewgold.com. Put gold into your IRA. Okay. Bella Grace, and you know I take it every day, MelissaHouseBG.com. We have so many of you that subscribe to that. And as this one dear lady, like so many of you said, if it didn't work, I would cancel the subscription. But it does work for me. It has fixed my problem, and not all of us have the same problem. So again, check it out. All of it at worldviewstore.com. All right, I did a pre-interview today with the state senator. It's really going to be funny. He is a funny guy. He's a very straightforward, no-nonsense guy, and you're going to appreciate this interview. And again, remember, you say, well, I don't live in Tennessee. What do I care? Because it looks like we might be able to send this guy to Washington, D.C. And ask yourself after watching this interview, isn't this the kind of guy you want to send to Washington, D.C.? So watch this, and then Nick Holscher and that doctor that we're going to interview that came to us through Dr. Thorpe. Here's my interview I pre-recorded today with State Senator Brent Taylor. Join me now is Senator Brent Taylor. He's a state senator here in Tennessee. We had him on last summer. You might remember that. Well, guess what? We got big news. Maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't. He's running for the U.S. Congress. And you say, well, I don't live in Tennessee. Yeah, but you better pay attention because he's going to be representing a district here in Tennessee, in Washington, but it's going to be at the federal level. So it impacts all of us because, well, he can go up there and fight for the Constitution and state rights and liberty and freedom. And so I'm for that for every member of Congress, regardless of what district or state they're from, aren't you? Of course, you're probably watching the big news here in Tennessee, as is in Alabama and many other states, redistricting, right? And maybe you saw what happened in the state legislature. Whew, some people standing up on desks, carrying on, and they got escorted out. They're not going to put up with this foolishness. And here in the Shelby County Memphis, Tennessee area, we might have a Republican U.S. representative for a long time. We have Cohen now. He's a white guy. He's a white guy. Well, for all this talk about gerrymandering and racism, why did they always elect a white guy? But they did. He's about as white as you get, Cohen. But they don't want to tell you about that, do they? And by the way, how is this Jim Crow? We hear the Jim Crow. Nobody's being deprived of their rights to vote, okay? So that's not the case. Reality is drawing districts along racial lines. That's racism, right? This is simply doing away with that idea. And I think it's going to make a big difference in the fall elections because it's already going into place. Let's see what State Senator Brent Taylor thinks of all this and why he's running. Because I know he's really enjoyed being a state senator. I know he feels like he was able to accomplish a lot because we talked about it in our last interview with him. He talked to us about how much he enjoyed being a state senator and how much he could get done. I wonder if after a term or two in Congress, he might want to come back home and be a state senator again. We'll find out. Senator Taylor, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Brandon, for having me. It's so good to be back with you.
Great to have you back with us. All right, let's go with your running. When was the last time West Tennessee, Shelby County area, outside of Memphis and in Memphis, had a Republican representing us in the House?
Well, Shelby County has been split two and three different ways over the years. And so we've always had at least one Republican congressman, but we've always had a very consistent Democrat congressman from Memphis since the 1970s when Harold Ford Sr. Actually defeated Dan Kirkendall, who was a Republican. And that's been literally 50 years ago. And so with this recent Supreme Court hearing or ruling, the Supreme Court has said that you cannot draw political boundaries using racial data, that if you draw political boundaries, you have to use political data. And so the legislature, we took the view that even though it's a compressed time period and we're doing this in a hurry, we thought it was important that since we knew that District 9, as it has always been drawn, was unconstitutional, we had a duty to go in and correct the constitutionality of that district so that we would not have people going in and voting in unconstitutional districts. So that's what we did. And we are likely now to have 3 Republican congressmen representing Memphis and Shelby County as a whole. And I think there are a lot of people who are going to be glad of that.
Yeah. Of course, we got David Kustoff representing, I think that's my state senator, Dave Kustoff. He's over there in Germantown. I'm in Carterville. I think that's my state congressman. I think that's my U.S. rep is Kustoff.
That's correct. Okay. Congressman Kustoff will be your representative.
And we saw him a year ago, about right now on Capitol Hill. We were there interviewing people and he walked by and we visited with him a little bit. We need to get him on the broadcast. Memphis is really got some real potential here. My wife, moms, wives, a lot of times have their finger on what's going on better than those of us that are dads and working and consumed with what we're doing because they're talking to other mothers and hearing things. And my wife just keeps telling me all the great things happening in Memphis. And of course, I'm concentrating more on the national news and the national level. So that's and the international. So maybe that's another reason why. But she's very adamant that Memphis is really improving and has some good days ahead of us and may actually become a major player in the computer industry and other industries that really make Memphis a desirable place to live, which I think it already is. I could live anywhere in the country I want to, but I love Shelby County area. But my wife is really feeling like we're going to start seeing Memphis really come up. Are you getting that sense too, particularly since President Trump has gotten control of crime and Governor Lee has sent so many state troopers in here?
Yes. And if you recall, Brandon, when we interviewed before, I came into office at the time when the crime rate was the highest in Memphis. I think we had 400 murders the year that I became senator. And what I campaigned on as a state senator was that I wanted to make Memphis matter. I wanted to get different outcomes for Memphis. And the two things that have historically held Memphis back from our peer cities has been crime and education. And so I focused my time in the state Senate doing what I could to raise 10 kinds of hell about trying to get crime under control. And so I started this effort with Make Memphis Matter by making Memphis safe. And it ultimately caught the attention of Senator Marsha Blackburn, and she worked with the President Trump. And ultimately, they brought first Operation Viper, which was an FBI operation. And then following that was the Memphis Safe Task Force, which brought in about 30 different federal agencies, including the National Guard. And Brandon, they have literally cut crime in half. And our murder rate is down by 50%. Burglaries are down, aggravated assaults, sexual assaults. All of the major crime categories have been cut nearly in half, and some more than that. And then I also worked in the state Senate to fight to get a intervention of our local school system, because our school system is graduating seniors, 75% of which cannot even read. And if we're going to have Memphis move forward, and we're truly going to make Memphis matter, and Memphis is going to be the next Southern IT city, then we have to get our crime under control, and we have to improve our education. And I think I've done both of those things in my time in the state Senate. And I'm wanting to take that fight that I had to make Memphis matter. I want to take that fight and fight to take Tennessee to the top.
I agree with that because I live here. And again, I mentioned Governor Lee and what Trump has done, but you do get so much of the credit and shaking the trees on this thing. Absolutely. Now, I want to go back to these riots or protests, whatever you want to call it, that went on in the legislature there. I mean, because this is making national news. They were jumping on desks and carrying on. What do they not understand the issues? Do these people not get it? Do they not care? Did they not realize that these districts were drawn in such a way that it wasn't based on common sense? It was really meant to be based along racial lines, which in itself, isn't that a form of racism?
Well, it is. I mean, that's the whole point, is that they have drawn these districts to where that they produce a certain type of candidate, and that's not what our congressional district lines should look like. Our congressional district lines should look as they look now under the redistricting plan. If you take District 9, which is the district that I'm running in, and by the way, it is the same district that Davy Crockett represented when he was in Congress, District 9. But it looks like Tennessee. It has an urban core in Memphis. It has suburban communities in Memphis and Nashville, Williamson County. It has rural communities. It has both white and black. And so this district looks like Tennessee. And that's how we're able to send another congressman that will represent Tennessee values in D.C. rather than a woke activist congressman like pretending Pearson, Representative Pearson, or chicken-eating Steve Cohen. And it's time to
Can we get that picture, by the way, Logan, so people know what he's talking about? Grab that picture. Keep going.
So anyway, it's time to send them packing, and it's time to have real people, serious people leading the state. And that vote and that meltdown that the legislators had the other day when we approved the district lines, Brandon, it was like a scene in the rec room of the mental institution. There was screaming and carrying on. There was even one lady in the Senate chamber who sits behind me. She stood up on her desk and was doing a table dance that you might see in a gentleman's club. And Brandon, you may not remember this, but several years ago, I had a piece of legislation, and the legislature, the Senate, was trying to delay the bill for a week, and I ultimately agreed to the delay, and we got the bill passed. But I remember I stood on the Senate floor and reminded them, yes, I'll agree to the delay, but I want you to know that I am working harder than an ugly stripper to get this done. And the senator, the one you see there on the screen standing on the desk, she was so offended by my comments, and I never really understood why, because typically only ugly strippers are offended by that comment. But then fast forward a couple of years, and she's on the desk doing a table dance like you might see in a gentleman's club. I'm not saying there's a connection there, but I'll let your listeners and viewers make their own decision.
Oh, gosh. What was she? Why is she? What is she tugging on with that handkerchief? What's that all about?
It was some kind of homemade banner she had made out of a bed sheet, and I was sitting in front of her, and I didn't know what was going on, and when I turned around, I unfortunately I was able to look right up her skirt, and I'm a gentleman, Brandon, so I obviously got up and moved so I would not be in that position, but anyway, I didn't have any singles with me that day, so all I had was a 20, and the table dance wasn't worth 20.
Oh my word! The boys in the control room are cracking up in here. By the way, that is really your office behind you, right? That's your office, right?
Yeah, that is my home office.
Beautiful.
At my home.
It is
well,
beautiful.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely
Appreciate that.
gorgeous.
I've been blessed far more than I deserve.
Yeah, well, you're a good businessman, and you have family business and done really well. And it's from hard work and years and years. But I have to comment on the office. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. You need to come over and see it sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like something out of the West Wing. Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what are going to be your main issues that you're running on. Tell me your top 3 or 4.
Yeah. So what I want to do is I have been fighting my time in the Senate. I've been fighting Tennessee's only Soros-backed DA, and I want to continue that at the federal level so that we can try to tackle these Soros-funded DAs all across the country, because they are making our states and communities and our country less safe. I've been fighting with Senator Marsha Blackburn to fight these communities that want these woke progressive policies of sanctuary cities and cashless bail, and I have ended that in Tennessee with the legislation that I've sponsored, and I've worked with Senator Blackburn as well, which is why she's endorsed my campaign for Congress. I've worked with her on illegal immigration, and I passed some bills this year dealing with illegal immigration and ensuring that our local sheriff's departments, that they hold illegal aliens that they have in custody longer. And I've said before, I like Tennessee like I like my sweet tea, and that's with a lot of ice. And so that's one of the things I'm going to be doing in Congress, is making sure that our Department of Homeland Security, including ICE, is fully funded so that we can get these illegal aliens rounded up and sent back to the country from which they came. Those are some of the things that I want to fight for in Congress, and in the state Senate. I have proven to be a fighter who wins. And I tell people all the time, there may be other people that may get in this race and claim that they're a fighter, but every fight's got 2 people, one wins and one loses. I have a track record of winning my fights.
Good for you. Okay, so when we come into Memphis over the Interstate 50 bridge, or we're, 55, excuse me. If we're, I was confusing 40 and 50. 55, Interstate Bridge. If you going out or if you're coming in, it looks a lot better because they've done a ton of highway repairs and it looks a lot better. So I don't know if you had a hand in that, but thank you for that. Number one, it looks a lot better. Number 2, can we though get somebody to help us collect the garbage on the side of the roads so that when the folks come to town, the first thing that when they get to our side of the bridge is not see all the garbage on either side of the interstate coming to Collierville or Germantown?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, we have made a lot of improvements on the infrastructure there coming across the I-55 bridge. Used to, I-55 got reduced down to just one lane going north from Tennessee over into Arkansas. We have now expanded that and created much better interchange, and so you didn't get bottlenecked with that one lane. We also, Brandon, as you know, we are building a new bridge. It's a $900 million bridge across the Mississippi River, and I sit on the Transportation Committee in the State Senate, and I was able to secure $250 million of funding that we were able to leverage that with $250 million from the state of Arkansas and leverage that with the federal government. They put in $400 million, and so we're getting a new bridge built across the Mississippi River Bridge. Another thing that I've done, we just had a press conference about 2 or 3 weeks ago where we have announced what we are referring to as performance-based contracting related to the very thing you just mentioned, and that is picking up the road debris and the trash all along the interstates and state right of ways. And companies now won't be paid to pick that debris up. They will be paid to keep the debris off the road. And so if they don't meet certain standards, they won't get paid regardless of how much they pick up off the road. So I think that's going to make a huge improvement. And I hope to continue to work from Congress to leverage our opportunities that we have with TDOT and the United States Department of Transportation, so that we can make sure that our highways and byways reflect the beautiful state that we live in.
Because I don't know how much you travel, but I quit flying in 2003 and motor coached everything and still do. And so we get all over the place when we're traveling and don't do as much as we used to. But we will rent a motor coach out of Nashville, jump on board and do a trip if we have to for work. And when we go north, I have to tell you, one of the common themes by the folks we bring with us who've not spent a lot of time up north, or some of them ever, just here at the South, or going down to Florida and further on down Alabama or whatever, but they never gotten up to Wisconsin, right? Illinois. And the thing they comment on, I remember we had one guy with us who's now a police detective in Collierville, but he was a patrol officer, and he was providing security for us on some of our trips. And he kept commenting on the way the side of the interstates look up north. He's like, man, they keep their interstates so clean on either side of the interstates and trimmed, and the trees and the lack of garbage. He couldn't quit commenting on that all the way up and all the way back down. And so that would be absolutely amazing, because you want to take pride in where I live, and I do. And Collierville and Germantown look beautiful, but I'm just thinking, if people coming over the border don't see that when they hit the border, that would be really nice, So I'm glad to hear you're working on that, and that you're going to do it by performance, keeping the not being paid so much to get the garbage up, but to keep it up. That's very smart.
That's right. And that was something I worked on in the Transportation Committee. Over a couple of years ago, we passed the Transportation Modernization Act, and that was one of the components that I worked on, that language, to get that into the legislation, because I think you do better. I mean, if you just get paid to pick the garbage up, you hope there's more garbage. But if you get paid to maintain a certain standard that keeps the garbage off the side of the roadway, then you're incentivized to make sure it is not on the side of the road. It's all about what you're getting paid to do. And so I think that will have a huge impact on the cleanliness of our roads moving forward.
Let's talk about what else is going on a national level now that you're going to win this race and go on to Washington. A lot of our audience is very concerned about digital central bank, stable coins, tokenization, whatever you want to call it. Many of them are particularly concerned about this idea of tokenizing everything we own. Tokenizing my house, tokenizing my land, and having it tokenized. And there's some documentaries like The Great Taking and other things that warn about this. And of course, I know tokenization could be a way for people to do new things they never thought before. Buy a house instead of getting your funding from a traditional bank. You may go online and put up all your credit rating and your income and validate it, and people will provide you the funding because they'll buy a percentage of your house through this tokenization. And I think the idea for competition and lowering interest rates or better deals, competition is great, right? I'm all for that. But I'm concerned about the digitization of everything, where we start losing our independence, or they have people shadow, deplatforming us, shadow banning, or whatever you want to call it, deplatforming you off networks or debanking. What kind of precautions can we see when you see things running through like the Clarity Act and others that will not make it where we are, as a conservative or as Christians, now all of a sudden find ourselves in a social credit scoring system where we said the wrong thing online. We said something about Islam. I just read over, was it Ireland or somewhere, Logan, or Scotland, where a pastor or somebody quoted the Bible. Now he's getting prosecuted. We know this kind of garbage goes on in China, where you get social credit scores and your hiring and your firing and your ability to travel and get on a train is all based on an applicant's social credit score system known as the Dangan. Are you concerned, as we are, about this kind of thing, and what can we do to protect our independence?
Well, I am concerned, but we don't have to wonder what it will be like. We can look at social media and see what it will be like. If you don't espouse the correct views on social media, you're kicked off, deplatformed, or the algorithms will treat your messages and send them further down the post where actually no one will ever see it. And so we don't have to wonder what will happen. We know what will happen, and it doesn't. And we know, and they can say, well, the government's not involved in it. It's private enterprise, these companies. But look, when these companies get so large, they look to the federal government for protection. And we see what happened just during the pandemic when turns out the real messages about COVID and the vaccines, all of that was it was put in a black box where people couldn't see it. And turns out they were right. They used to say that people who talked about that they were in the far right. But I think what they meant was that they're right so far. And so we don't have to wonder what it would be like. That's why this past session, I actually sponsored legislation that will create gold and silver as a legal tender in Tennessee, so that people who want to buy and sell goods, that they can use gold and silver as legal tender, and so that we don't have to depend on anything that the government sanctions or these private companies sanctions, because it is a real danger, and people will have their entire wealth that could be locked up simply because they don't have the correct political views.
Exactly. And that's what I'm so concerned about. So glad to hear that. I love this idea of what you're doing with the gold and silver, bringing it back as a understood to be real money, real currency, constitutional money. Kind of interesting. You led me right into it. And I just brought up a clip by President Trump, and then you bring up gold and silver. So it's almost like we rehearsed this, which we did not, because I did want to bring this clip up and get your response. So now that you've opened the door on gold and silver, let's see what President Trump just said about this and the gold at Fort Knox. Here we go.
What happened to the audit of Fort Knox?
Which one are you talking about?
There was, I think when you first got into office, you and Elon Musk talked about auditing.
Well, we
gold
wanted
make
to go
sure it's
knock
there.
on the door, Fort Knox, very thick door, and to see whether or not we have any gold in there, because we'll take a look at it. It's a very interesting question, We played with that. I wonder if they left the gold in Fort Knox, because they steal a lot.
No need to really do that, though?
Well, I don't know. I think it's, I do want to go to Fort Knox sometime. I want to see if the gold is there.
I like to see if the gold is there too. At some point, you think they are going to reevaluate and establish the price of gold based on what we've got and use it to help balance our books. There's been talk about that. And of course, we see gold hit some highs in the 5,000, came back down. Silver, of course, one day this week's already jumped 7% in one day. It's headed back up toward 100. What are your thoughts on getting America on a more stable financial ground? We just passed, I guess, our debt is now 100% to GDP, global domestic product. Where are you at with all this? Because how much longer can we keep doing this?
Well, not much longer, because, when we move from currency based on gold and move to fiat currency, you see what happens, and that is you wind up with trillions upon trillions of dollars of debt, and then the money becomes worthless. And so that's one of the reasons I sponsor that legislation at the state level, is so that if the fiat currency ever collapses, that we have legal tender in Tennessee of gold and silver. Now, unfortunately, I was not able to get that bill passed this last session in the legislature, but there will be others once I fortunately get elected to Congress. There'll be others that will pick that up and try to get it passed here in Tennessee. But that goes to show you President Trump and I are in alignment on that issue, and that's probably one reason that there are two different strains of TDS. You have Trump derangement syndrome nationally, but there is a regional version of TDS, and that is Taylor derangement syndrome. And you look no further than one of my former businesses, like Trump, when they stripped his name off of a lot of his real estate holdings. I sold my businesses a couple of years ago, and one of the owners of the funeral home that I sold, it had my name on it, and they made a big deal about the fact that my politics do not align with their core values, and they stripped my name off the very funeral home that I started and grew and sold to them. So President Trump and I are in alignment on a lot of things, including the goal that's in Fort Knox.
Wow. But wait a minute now. I thought I don't get out very much. I'm locked in this studio way too many hours of the week. But when I did get out a few weeks ago, I thought I saw a funeral home in town recently that has your name on it.
Not anymore. They stripped my name off of it.
Wow. Well, that was not a smart move. All right. So is there a primary, and how many people are you going up against?
There is a primary. We will know Friday, Brandon, who is in the race and who's not, because Friday at noon is the filing deadline. And right now I am the only major candidate. Most news outlets are indicating that I'm the front runner in the race. I have the endorsement of Senator Marsha Blackburn, who's poised to be Tennessee's next governor. I have Senator Bill Hagerty, the other United States senator. I have a lot of the congressional delegation, a lot of the state representatives, state senators, and county mayors, and city mayors, and district attorneys. And Brandon, I'll make news here for you. Just before I came on this Zoom call with you, I received a call out of the blue from Leader Steve Scalise, who's a United States House of Representatives Majority Leader. He called me out of the blue to let me know that he had been following me for some time, knew that I was running for Congress, and gave me his full endorsement.
Excellent.
And indicated that he would share with the president his endorsement of me to see if we could perhaps get President Trump to weigh in. And because he said the president would be very interested in know what Leader Scalise is doing. And so we're now starting to get endorsements out of D.C. Because they are looking, with this slim majority that we have, they are looking for fighters who win. And clearly they've seen my record, and they're looking for a fighter who can win. And I want to go to Congress as a fighter who wins, and I want to provide that ironclad impeachment insurance against President Trump so that we won't have to fight for the next 2 years trying to keep him from being impeached, and we can continue implementing his America First agenda. And that's why it's important that we send Brent Taylor to Congress.
Absolutely. Well, what is your website for Congress?
It's BrentTaylorForCongress.com, BrentTaylorForCongress.com, and your viewers can go there, learn more about me. They can donate online, and we would love to have as much support as possible. And this is a short sprint. Election day is not far away, and early voting starts in 10 weeks.
It is going to go fast. So,
yes, it will.
Primary will be when? Did you say the date?
Be August 6th.
August 6th. So that's going to get here before we know it. And then obviously the election in November. Okay, so we're going to be following this, and we're going to put this all over our Facebook page. We did an interview not too long ago with Judge Joe Brown. How many views did that thing get, Logan? How many? At least 1 million or more that one interview got. And that was just on YouTube pretty much. Well, I guess YouTube and Facebook. So we're going to send this all around too after it airs tonight. We'll send this all around and spread the word far and wide and let folks know that we are friends with State Senator Brent Taylor, who has a great track record, by the way, something you can go and look up and check out. And I hope you'll visit his website, BrentTaylorForCongress.com, BrentTaylorForCongress.com. This is very good news for all of us because of the common sense. Of course, only request I have is that in your free time, you really need to write a book of Taylorisms, okay? We need a book with your Taylorisms in it. Don't you think, Logan? Just a small little coffee table book with all of his isms in it, his Taylorisms. I think he should too. We could use it to fund the campaign a little bit. I'm sure I'm not the only one to ever ask for this book, right?
Well, I appreciate it. We will keep that up, and it's hard to write them down because they just come out of my mouth when the situation comes up. It's not like I can think about it.
Wow. Okay, I thought you probably made these up and got ready for them, rehearsed them. He's so good; he makes them up on the fly. That's talent there. Wow. He even went from owning mortuaries and funeral homes. He should have been a comedian.
Hey, look, Brandon. All those years at the funeral home, you can't tell jokes at a funeral. It just doesn't work. And so I've got about 35 years of pent up frustration of my pent up humor. And this is the only outlet I have now. So there will be more coming, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, if some of these guys don't retire up there, you're going to be right at home because a lot of those guys are darn near corpses right now, some of them.
Well, they're gently alive, that's for sure.
Gently alive. Man alive, that's putting it nicely. All right, BrentTaylor.com. He is always a
Hey.
fun guy to interview. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you, Brandon. If I just say one parting thing. This is the District 9, that Davy Crockett once represented in Congress. And Davy Crockett, he was defeated in the 1830s, and he gave the best concession speech ever on the courthouse steps when they counted the votes and he came up short. He said, "I'm going to Texas and all you folks can go to hell." Well, I have that same Tennessee grit that Davy Crockett had, and I would say it a little bit differently. And I would say that I'm going to Congress and I'm going to give the Democrats hell. And so I'm looking forward to that.
We need to keep this part into the state growing. Memphis has so much potential. People will ask me, "Why do you live in Memphis?" I'm like, I love the culture. I could live anywhere. I've been back here 22 years. My roots are here. I can take you to the family plot where they're all buried back to the Civil War with house on so many of these tombstones. That's where I'm going to be buried. I love the culture here. I can live anywhere. Do I want to see the crime keep going down? Absolutely. Would I like to see the area really take off? 100%. And I think things are lining up for that to happen. The roads are being improved. The crime is dropping like a rock. We got some big companies that have come in here. And now we've got a new congressman on the way to bring us some support locally to keep, I think, making Memphis a great place to live. I did interview my friend Jason Lewis many times. He was up there in Congress, for, representing a district in Minnesota. Now he lives down in Florida. Well, every time I have him on, he a lot of times he talks about Memphis and how much he loves Memphis. And a lot of folks have been here, know how great Memphis is, but then a lot of people have bought the media's spin on it. And I keep telling people, if it wasn't for a few areas, you wouldn't have crime here. It's only a few neighborhoods, a few parts of town, but it's getting so much better. But Memphis has so much to offer. And I'm so happy that you're running. I am thinking this is going to be a great addition to making Memphis great again. And I know behind the scenes and publicly, you've been doing an awful lot and you get a lot of credit. I can only imagine where we could go with you representing us in Congress to keep making Memphis great again. So thank you. And we're going to keep track of your race.
And we're going to fight the same fight that made Memphis matter. We're going to take that same fight to take Tennessee to the top. Thank you.
Absolutely. State Senator, soon to be U.S. Congressman Brent Taylor. Check out his website, BrentTaylorForCongress.com. And we'll let you know when his book on Taylorisms are out. Logan, I think we have to dump some of these into that magic software you use and pull some of those out, and we'll have to put some of those online ourselves. We need to chop that up into clips and get that all over social media, Logan. I think a lot of folks will find this a very interesting and funny interview because he is funny. And you know what? That's a great combination. I think he's going to win. I think he's going to win handily because I think people are looking for authentic politicians today. I think that's a big reason why Trump did so well. You don't have to agree with everything he's ever done or does, but he was pretty stinking authentic. He said what he thought, right? And some people like it, some people didn't, but he was authentic. And I think you just saw a guy there that's very much that same way. He's not worried about being politically correct. He's just going to speak the truth. I think he's going to win handily. And I think he's going to really help the Mid-South. I love the Mid-South. And interesting, we've had some folks that have come here to visit from South Dakota recently, about last year, about this time. And they'd never been to the area. They spent a couple days here. And they reported back, no wonder you like living here. This is a gorgeous area. Now I'm talking Carterville, Germantown. These are Arlington. These are beautiful areas. And lots of Memphis, though. We went down to CeCe Winans. My wife and I went to see CeCe Winans in concert about a month ago. Someone gave us tickets. And I wasn't so sure, by the way. I was like, I know who she is. I remember her CeCe, and I think BB was her brother, and they were popular in the 80s when I was growing up. And I liked some of CeCe's music. She's got an amazing voice. And my granddaughter, who's not even 2, knows the words to a lot of her worship songs. So I'd seen a lot of her music in the last year or so because my daughter and granddaughter would put it on when they were here. And so I kind of got reintroduced to CC music. And so someone couldn't go, and it was down at the Orpheum. And the Orpheum is one block off of Beale Street, famous Beale Street. And I mean, you're in downtown Memphis, heart of Memphis. And we went down there and parked and went in. And I don't have to tell you, there were families at restaurants sitting outside, eating. You couldn't turn around without seeing a police officer in all directions, everywhere. They had it locked down, making it safe and family friendly. And we have really watched the transformation in Memphis. So any of you watching tonight, come to Memphis, stay a few days, come to Collierville, Germantown, do some shopping, go to the Peabody, see the ducks, come down the elevator. That's where they filmed a lot of the opening scene of The Firm with Tom Cruise is filmed all over Memphis. You can take in, of course, Graceland. And by the way, if you do go to Graceland, you better plan for a big chunk of the day. Don't plan on 2 hours. By the time you do the mansion and you do the room where he has all of his jumpsuits and awards and his cars, and then you go on the airplanes, that's going to take several hours. A lot of people think, oh, that 2-3 hours will do it. No, you're going to miss a bunch. So to all of you, I should get paid by the Chamber of Commerce right now as much as I'm plugging Memphis. But to all of you that have poo-pooed Memphis, come to town and check it out. Like our friends in South Dakota, they were like, no wonder you like living here. This area is beautiful. And I'm like, yeah, it is. We love it. And it's going to get better. It's going to only get better with Brent Taylor in Congress in D.C. But President Trump, I'll tell you something. The governor, Brent Taylor, Marsha Blackburn, they have done an amazing job restoring Memphis. Absolutely. And if you can't tell I'm excited about it, well, I am, because this is where we live and where we want to thrive and stay. They've done an amazing job turning this Shelby County around. Great job. All right, we'll be right back after this break.
No signal, no service, no way to reach the people you love. When disaster strikes, hurricanes, wildfires, grid failures, civil unrest, the first thing to go is communication. Cell towers fail, networks crash, and suddenly, you're cut off. Not anymore. Worldview Talk brings you military-grade satellite phones that work anywhere on Earth. Mountaintops, deep wilderness, disaster zones, no cell tower required. When everyone else goes silent, you stay connected. And that's just the beginning. At worldviewtalk.com, you'll find everything you need to protect what matters most. Solar generators, silent, clean power when the grid goes down, bulletproof backpacks, everyday protection for your kids, your commute, your peace of mind. Faraday bags shield your devices from EMPs, hackers, and tracking. This isn't paranoia, it's preparation. And in today's world, it's smart. Visit worldviewtalk.com. That's worldviewtalk.com. Don't wait until the lights go out. Worldview Talk. Stay connected, stay protected, stay ready.
Joining me now is Dr. Sanjeev Kumar. I hope I'm saying this name correctly. We got to know him through Dr. James Thorpe. Dr. Thorpe reached out to me and said, I've been studying this guy's case, and I think this guy has been taken advantage of. I think he's being railroaded, much like another doctor, Logan. We interviewed another doctor. Remember his name, Logan? And they were railroading that doctor who, by all appearances and everything we've studied, he did absolutely nothing wrong. Is it Eiffel? And the Biden administration was going after him to throw him in jail for decades. Remember that? You're going to tell us. Yes. Say it again.
Dr. Ron Alfenbein.
Remember his story? Well, here's another one. And again, I'm learning a lot. We're going to learn in real time together. He joins us now. Doctor, I understand you live here in the Mid-South. Did I say your name correctly? Sanjeev Kumar?
Yes, Brennan, you got it right, actually. Sanjeev Kumar.
Look at that. All right. Dr. Thorpe says he has examined your case, studied it, and he thinks you're absolutely being railroaded. Can you tell our audience what this is all about?
Yeah, so yeah, thank you for the opportunity, and I'm grateful for Dr. Thorpe that he took interest in the case. Basically, what it looks like is that the Department of Justice charged me for overutilization of hysteroscopy. Hysteroscopy is basically a procedure where the physician or a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant, the healthcare provider, takes a look inside the uterus with a tiny little camera. About 3 to 4 centimeter of this camera goes in the uterus so that you can take a look around. You might be familiar with colonoscopy.
Yes.
So it's very simple, but very similar, but way simpler, because the length of the telescope is much shorter as compared to a colonoscope. But idea is the same, is that it's an endoscopy where we take a look inside with a very tiny little telescope in the uterus in women.
And what are they saying that you did wrong?
So they're basically alleging that our clinic overutilized the service of hysteroscopy. And overutilization means that they think that procedures were not, quote, necessary or needed, but we did them. That's the baseline allegation. We don't agree with that assessment based on our expertise and experience. And that's why there's this conflict.
Now, you're also on top of being a gynecologist, you're also, help me out with the phrasing here, a certain type of cancer doctor, correct?
That is correct. So I'm a double board certified gynecologic oncologist, which means that I did med school, then I did 4 years of OBGYN residency, and then additional 3 years of gynecologic oncology fellowship, which is basically a study in treatment and surgery of women's cancer. And the cancers that I'm talking about are ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, cancers of female reproductive tracts. What is important to note is that the endometrial cancer, which is the main cancer that is diagnosed with hysteroscopy, is on a relentless rise. And in our Memphis area, actually, it is rising with faster rate than any other cancer in women's health. And I would love if you can project a chart that I had sent that was taken from a publicly available cancer registry.
Yes, Logan, I've sent you 3 graphics, by the way.
Yeah.
We're gonna pull those up. And while we're getting ready for Logan to pull those up, now, I didn't know about your case, but some of the guys in the control room did. And Logan's girlfriend knew. But they probably track things that go on in Memphis closer than I do because I'm studying national and international stuff. But his girlfriend, being in the medical field, had heard your case and was intrigued that I was going to be interviewing you. But going around town, correct me if I'm wrong, your case ended up kind of taking on a life of its own with a lot of stories that has nothing to do with why you were charged. Is that right?
Correct.
Like that you were using the same medical devices on people over and over and over, not cleaning them and things like that, right?
Yeah, that's one of the allegations as well. And it is strange that if you follow the case, it has evolved quite a bit. So initially, if I take you back to February 2025, when the indictment was unsealed, I was charged with human trafficking, sexual assault, sexual abuse.
Wait. Why would you be charged with those things?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have the same question, and my counsel had the same question as well. And when we to use the words of one of the attorneys that I work with. He said, now that we unpeel the onion, we realized that they were charging me for human trafficking for a billing dispute, where they basically proposed a theory that if a certain procedure was, quote, not medically necessary according to their criteria of covering the billing and or the device, then in their eyes it becomes a fraudulent procedure, and they hypothesized that a fraudulent procedure, since it is gynecologic, can be classified as rape.
Oh my word. Are you serious? So they're charging you with sex trafficking, sexual abuse, sexual assault, rape.
Yes, sir. That's how this initial indictment was unveiled, and as you can imagine, the media just gobbled it up
Yep.
and run amok. And you as well as I, we are based in Memphis, so we are in the tri-state area. So people would cross borders, see us in our clinic, and so that was, quote, the Travel Act charge. Means that human trafficking and things like that. And then it basically, people just went berserk, and they spun the story whichever way they could. And I basically lived the nightmare.
Now, you're still living the nightmare because you went on trial, right?
Yes.
And
So-
what is it, trial by jury?
Correct.
And of course, we know that pretty much any prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich, as the saying goes. And a lot of times, if you go to trial, they have like a 90% conviction rate, because most people, I guess, sitting in the jury box assume that you must be guilty, or else you wouldn't be sitting there. So getting indicted is pretty easy, and then being found guilty is pretty easy too. So this is part of the problem with our system today. I don't want to be too critical of our fellow citizens, but we're losing the ability of people to reason and use reason, logic, and context, and to hear things and not fully understand at times how corrupt the system is, how innocent people do indeed get charged over and over, and it seems to be an increasing thing. So did your jury clearly wasn't buying what you were saying? Did your defense attorney put you on the stand? Did you have a chance to try to talk to the jury, or did he advise against that?
No, actually, we had a discussion, and I testified.
You did?
Yes, I testified in my own defense. And my testimony actually lasted a couple of days for a few hours each. And then after the trial, we received a mixed verdict. And then there are, post-trial proceedings going on right now. So the case is.
What do you mean when you received a mixed verdict? Explain that.
Yeah. So mixed verdict was, it was a hung jury on several counts and then guilty on several counts. So it was kind of like a mixed bag.
Mm-hmm. And so where are you at right now? You said it's what's happening now.
So right now we are in the post-trial phase, where some post-trial proceedings are going on that are under seal. And because they are under seal, they are not reported publicly right now.
So do you have sentencing coming up?
Sentencing has been preliminary scheduled in July, in the first half of July. So that is on the docket.
And what are you looking at? What are they trying to, how long is the prosecution asking for you to go to prison?
I don't know. That depends on what they file on the docket in the coming time. But we don't know that yet. It's a fairly complex process to go through number of filings and memorandums and things like that. So we don't exactly know right now.
Let's go to some of these graphics. You've provided us with a graphic, and I think the first one here shows us public data shows the cancer is rising faster than all other cancers in women. It's a certain type of cancer, endometrial cancer, right?
That is correct. So it's endometrial cancer, cancer of the womb. Basically, Memphis being on the top of the obesity epidemic, you can imagine obesity is what is a leading risk factor for endometrial cancer. The obesity that I'm talking about is not a normal sort of obesity that we see, but it's rather life-threatening. And the type of patients that we deal with are the patients that are extremely, extremely high risk, where, it takes multiple people to help even to get the patient on the examination table. And this level of what we call it as body mass index, most people has not seen in their clinical careers. It's a relatively new phenomenon with the extent that it is happening right now. As you're aware that there's a national epidemic of obesity that is going on. And that directly encourages this cancer to develop, which is why we are seeing more of this type of disease and cancer. And actually, it is selectively affecting our African American population because they have higher risk of fibroids and things of that nature. And if you look at this graphic right here, I don't know whether you can see my cursor or not, but these data that are on the screen, they are from a publicly available cancer database. And here we see that in last 5 years, 5-year rate changes in mortality. Mortality means death rate, right? So if you look at the death rate in last 5 years of all cancers, it's a little shocking to see that uterine cancer is number one. And I can bet with you that a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people think that, it ought to be, ovarian cancer, colon cancer, lung cancer. No, it's not. It is endometrial cancer. It's uterine cancer. This depicts all ages, females, all races. And these are national data from 2018 to 2022, which have matured now, are hence available for analysis. And it is no surprise that in a lot of the cancers, we are actually doing a good job, that their death rate is declining, but not here. If you look at this, the death rate is rising, which clearly means that we are clearly not doing enough.
Okay, so why, when you lay all this out, okay, great. You're doing your job, you're trying to save lives. Why did the Biden Department of Justice come after you? How did you even get on their radar?
So exactly speaking, I don't know, but according to the information that was given to us, it was told to us that our clinic was an outlier in utilization of this service.
So when you're billing, what are you billing? Medicaid? What are you billing?
We bill pretty much whatever the insurance provider that the patient has.
Okay, and so the government pays for a lot of this, I'm guessing, right?
Government should pay for it. A lot of the times it doesn't. A lot of times we just eat up the cost. In our case, for example, we ate a lot of the cost ourselves.
You as a clinic?
As a clinic, yes.
But that's what tipped off the government. They saw the payments coming in for this practice, this procedure.
That is what we were told, is that the clinic was an outlier in submitting billing for this procedure as compared to other clinics, and therefore we were isolated. Now, what is important about that is that although they presented the billing data, they did not put it into context that we were also seeing larger number of patients than everybody else. So for example, I'll give you an example. In one of the comparisons, we saw more than 4,500 patients belonging to the government programs, whereas people against whom we were compared, the next largest group was like 550. So we saw like maybe 8 or 9 times higher number of patients because we were open, 6 days a week. We would not turn anybody away. We will, see pretty much anybody who walked in and basically provided the service. So they did not put that in the context. They basically looked at the numbers and then, I guess, ran with the case.
So wait a minute. None of this makes sense because I thought the great concern was the fact that people of color get discriminated against, and the people of color, they don't get services, and we need socialized medicine, and everybody has the right to the doctor and the test just like everybody else. And yet then when a clinic comes along and is open 6 days a week, is not turning anyone away, if necessary, eats the cost of the examination and technology and treatment on their own, but aren't you doing what it is the progressives and the enlightened all think doctors should be doing, which is helping people, particularly helping minorities or what are perceived to be communities that aren't receiving the same level of treatment or services that others would receive? I would think that what you're doing, they would give you an award if that's really their goal and agenda, right?
Yeah. And look, our patients were extremely happy with us. And that is reflected in a lot of the online reviews, the very nice cards that they sent us, and things like that. And remember, you don't get to grow if you're not doing something right. You don't get to grow your practice if patients are not liking the service. So obviously we grew, our patients liked us. But the government algorithms and things like that, I don't know how they decide who to go after. But certainly that is what happened here. For us, for me personally, it is the line of my duty. It is, I'm a GYN oncologist. This is what I look for, is that, I look for tools that can help me provide a patient-focused care that could, let's say, kill somebody or harm somebody's health. So I'm trained to do those type of things. And if you came to the clinic, if you had risk factors, we would offer the service to you. And if you elected to have the test done, we would do the test. We were not necessarily, aware of how much everybody else is doing. For us, it was that we are providing patient-focused approach, patient-focused care, without knowing that we will become the target of investigation like this.
Are you aware of the doctor that we were talking about a while ago that is also being prosecuted by the federal government? Are you aware of him?
You're talking about Dr. Elfenbein?
Yes.
Yes, I'm very aware of it, and it's very interesting. The reason why I got awareness about his case was when we were trying to file some legal paperwork about vacation of judgment and things of that nature. I was researching similar case laws where this thing has happened before, and there it was. His case came across. In Ron's case, he was convicted by the jury. And the judge vacated the judgment, and his conviction was overturned. Then the government appealed, and the overturned judgment was then re-remanded. That's my understanding. And Ron is a Hopkins-trained, very intelligent emergency room physician. After that, I got connected with him, and I've had several very, very rewarding conversations with him as to what is happening with the healthcare, why the cost is going up, and why access is going down.
And so, why, if you had to guess, Why do you think the government is going after doctors like you and him? What is it they're trying to do? Obviously, they're looking to send a message and make you guys an example for what?
Yeah, obviously, if you look at the surface, you can read the headlines. The premise is always to reduce the cost or patient safety or to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse, and things of that nature. But what if somebody is providing services that are needed to save lives, to make diagnosis? Um, for example, one of the things that became clear during the trial to me is that they were thinking that, oh, these procedures were not happening, and they were just thinking that somebody was doing fraudulent billing without actually providing the service. And I'm like, no, that is not what is happening. In fact, that's what I told in my testimony, is that I'm actually very, very proud of the care that I provided, which I believe was needed, and obviously the patient believed was needed. And remember, this case was reviewed by the Tennessee Medical Board, and the Tennessee Medical Board found no wrongdoing and actually had dismissed the case. And so, just being as a specialist, as a professional, I would believe a thing like that, is that who knows about the practice of medicine better than the medical board, which is composed of our colleagues, the administrative people and things like that.
So who
And
came and spoke up for your defense? Did anybody with those medical boards, any of these associations, did anyone come to your trial and get on the stand and say, he's done nothing wrong? This is the kind of doctors we actually want to encourage, not prosecute.
Yeah. So look, the medical board was very kind. Their representative who had conducted the investigation came to several depositions, actually. She came through in various court dates and things like that, and was very, very upfront about telling everybody what she did.
Mm-hmm.
There were multiple people involved, and she had complete unfettered access to our clinic. She, took a bunch of pictures, made videos, interviewed me, and literally, kind of looked at everything, and found nothing that could be of questionable conduct and things like that. And at that point, I had thought that the case is over, but I had no idea that in next February. So this happened in September 2024. I received a disposition letter from the Tennessee Medical Board that the complaint had been dismissed. There was no wrongdoing, nothing. And then, suddenly I was arrested in February, and human trafficking and things of that nature, those charges were unveiled. So it was all a big shock to me.
Yeah, I would guess so. How long were you able to bail out pretty quick?
Yeah, so they kept me in for a long weekend, and then I was able to get
Hopefully they didn't put you at 201 Poplar.
I was not at the 201 Poplar. I was in the federal facility.
Okay. I don't know if that's any better or not, but can't imagine someone of your caliber being at 201. I don't know. Your story is just like the other doctor. It's very disturbing. It's hard to make sense of it. But you seem pretty calm. How is it you seem to have an awful lot of peace and calm about this?
Yeah, look, I genuinely believe that I've done nothing wrong, and that I serve the people. That's exactly what I said after the trial as well, is that I served people well to the best of my capabilities, and worked very, very hard to do that, actually. Saved, numerous lives. I mean, I would walk in operating room when they would call me after surgical disaster and fix whatever needs to be fixed and not ask many questions. That's just the type of personality that I have. Also, one of the things that I'd shared with you, one of the central questions in the trial was, quote, medical necessity. What is, the meaning of when a procedure is necessary, when it is not, right? So when these procedures were actually happening, the government said that everything was good. We were on multiple audits. We cleared all the audits and things like that, right? And then after the fact, they came back and they hired a chart reviewer who reviewed hand selected cherry picked charts. It was never like a statistically representative sample of our patient population, but they basically handpicked a very few of the charts out of literally thousands of patients. And then basically we got a very, very flawed opinion. You will be shocked to know that the opinion that I got from the reviewer basically included procedures from all the way back in 2017. My clinic was not even open in 2017. There were several, what I call them as ghost procedures that they included to inflate the numbers. And the ghost procedures were, the procedure actually didn't happen, but somehow it ended up on the report that, oh, this date, this procedure was done, this was the pathology, this was the finding. And I'm like, the procedure actually never happened. How come we are getting this information? There were instances where they completely ignored like precancer lesions in very young patients. And I'm like, I would never ignore that. Why is it okay to basically gloss over a pathology that is showing precancer to call it normal, and therefore subsequent procedure is not needed? So there were, they created like artificial age cutoffs that, oh, I don't think a patient should have a hysteroscopy before 30 years of age or 20 years of age. At the same time, if you actually look at endometrial cancer clinical trials, they will keep the entry criteria as 18 years of age. What that means is that if you have endometrial cancer, you are 18, we will recruit you in our clinical trial, but somehow hysteroscopy is not appropriate if you're presenting with risk factors. So there were just, and yeah, these are the data that are actually from our clinics. So these are the data that, these are the actual patients. Obviously, they are with anonymous, de-identified, and things like that. One of the central points in the trial was, well, who gets to decide how frequently are you going to perform or offer a hysteroscopy? What is the right thing to do, right? And they held the position that, if somebody did a hysteroscopy and it was normal, then you can tell the patient that one can reliably exclude endometrial cancer for next 6 months to 12 months. Okay? So that's the position that they held. It was based on zero data, zero publications, nothing. Okay? Now, these are the data from our own clinic, where we saw a 20-year-old patient who basically presented with abnormal bleeding. Okay, we do endometrial sampling. Endometrial sampling is negative. Within 2 weeks, this patient comes back, gets endometrial sampling again, and we find precancer. So using their approach, this patient will be missed and will be at risk of death. Because if I told this patient that, hey, you're good for another year, I'll be obviously missing this pre-cancer. Okay? Take a look at the next one. Patient that is 42 years old, African American, body mass index is 53. 53 means there is very, very severe life-threatening obesity that is affecting this patient. All right. So we do endometrial sampling. Endometrial sampling with hysteroscopy is negative. And yet, within 2 weeks' time, we have a proven diagnosed cancer. Take a look at the next one. 62-year-old, negative endometrial sampling and hysteroscopy. And then within 4 weeks, a cancer is diagnosed. And the last one, 65-year-old presenting with postmenopausal bleeding, fibroids, endometrial stripe is 5 mm. Endometrial stripe is the lining of the uterus. Within 4 weeks of a negative endometrial sampling with hysteroscopy, a cancer is found. Now, as somebody said, in God we trust. Rest all bring data. I heard that at Mayo Clinic during my fellowship, right?
Oh.
When you are seeing these data, actual data, these are actual patients. Once you see that, then how can you with a straight face say that, okay, I know you have risk factors and things like that, and I'm comfortable observing for another 6 months to a year. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
because your
not-
patient could be terminal big time by then, right? Or dead.
That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
so what was the average age of your patients?
I don't know that answer to that question because I don't think we analyzed that particular question. But I guess it will be, pretty normal distribution of age range. That
The reason I'm asking that, doctor, is I'm trying to figure out, again, what's the agenda here? And if your patients are predominantly older people, then I would say, well, I got to ask the question, maybe these people are deemed to be useless eaters and they should be getting money spent on them and we shouldn't be saving them. We should let them die. That's socialized medicine. That's how socialized medicine works, obviously. And we see states passing laws for doctor-assisted suicide, medical assistance in dying, MAID, all this kind of stuff that I'm highly opposed to active euthanasia, have been my entire career.
Yeah.
So socialized medicine is about depopulation and dehumanization. So if the demographic of your patients was an older audience, I would say, are they trying to send the message to doctors across the country? Don't provide medical care and expense on patients above a certain age. And if you do, we're going to charge you with fraud and whatever else we can come up with along the way, so that we're only treating the younger people and we let the older people die. I don't know, but I'm trying to figure out the rationale for bringing this. There generally is an idea, a philosophy behind this kind of behavior, and I'm trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah. You ask a great question. I don't have a definitive answer. What I can tell you is that it appears that it is a basically like a rationing type of approach.
Yeah.
Where you can bring in a chart reviewer who doesn't treat the same patient population that you do, like the one of the pictures that I shared with you guys, the severe obesity.
Yeah.
99% of my colleagues, they say, man, we have never treated this level of obesity in our clinical practice. And I'm like, how can you assess my work if you haven't walked in my shoes? So
why have they not treated that? Because they don't see those kind of patients? They don't want those kind of patients? They don't want to deal with that? Is that why?
So a lot of people, they kind of, once you become a specialist, then a certain, cadre of patient that you start seeing, lot of times you limit yourself that, hey, I'm only going to see referrals. If your
So you
hospital
can pick and choose your patients, what I'm hearing.
correct.
So
You can.
correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to make a false assumption here. But what I'm hearing is I don't want to deal with an obese patient like that. Thank you very much. Next. Is that what I'm hearing?
You hit the nail on the head. If you talk to a lot of surgical specialists, they don't want to deal with it.
Okay, so again, why are you not being given a humanitarian award versus a guilty verdict when you're treating people, and particularly it looks like here in the Mid-South, people of color that we're always told get mistreated and don't get the services that the rich people get out in the suburbs. So why are they going after you instead of saying, thank you, doctor, for being a doctor that cares about patients' lives, regardless of race, color, or creed, or socioeconomic level. You're doing a great job. We need more doctors like you. Good for you, sir. Well, this doesn't make any sense to me unless you come back to that. We're back to the point of we want socialized medicine. We do not want people being treated and money being spent on them if they are of a certain demographic or age. Now, again, I'm going to go somewhere maybe you don't want to go, so I'm speaking for myself. But I have studied Margaret Sanger, the abortionist Margaret Sanger, of which we got Planned Parenthood. And she was deliberately opening clinics in Black communities to get rid of what she called the weeds, right? She wanted to get rid of people of color, okay? She even worked with a Nazi doctor. This is in one of my books. It's highly documented. Right. So again, forgive me if my suspicion starts to get raised when I see someone being targeted, it appears to me, and that's what I see unless the government wants to, send your file over and tell me something I'm not seeing or hearing. You're being targeted. Are you because you're going against the demographic, which is we don't want to treat poor Black people? Now, I don't want to sound like the guy that's, blames everything on race and racism. But you know what? Sometimes it is. Margaret Sanger openly talked about, these people as weeds. We had a program in America not too many decades ago where people of color were being sterilized, right? Because of the belief of Darwinian evolution and the idea that certain groups were more highly evolved than others, which again is pure racism from a Darwinian naturalistic perspective that I reject. So I can only look at this demographic that you're treating in Memphis, both economic and people group, and say, what is the agenda here other than to send the chilling message to doctors? There's certain people we're not spending money on. I mean, I don't know what to do with your case because I cannot figure out why you would be treated this way, much less the other doctor that we've talked about tonight, that we've interviewed, and that you now have become aware of and become friends with. This, to me, is mind-blowing. It's scary to think that a guy can spend his career going to Mayo Clinic, getting training in Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. I mean,
that's right.
And then they target you, want to throw you in prison. I mean, they're talking about putting you behind bars, right?
Yes.
And again, this is another stupid thing. Why do we want to put people in prison as though you're a violent criminal? But of course, when they've charged you with what they've charged you with, anyone reading your case would think, throw him in prison and throw the key away. But now I'm starting to hear, wait a minute, why are we charging him with trafficking? Part of me says, am I missing something here? Am I not getting the full picture of your case, either from you or from the government, right? And anyone in my position would have to say, is he telling me the truth? Is he telling me the full truth? Or is the government not telling the full truth? Or is the government lying? Somebody here is not telling the truth, right, Doc?
That's right. That's correct. You can actually research the case. There has never been a case like this before. What you can also take a look is that if you take a look at let's say a African-American woman, she is twice as likely to die with this cancer when compared to a white woman. So when you were talking about racial distribution and things like that, this disease and therefore the utilization of the service ought to match that, right? There are a lot of other things, such as somebody having fibroids. Every community has its kind of like own microcosm of what kind of diseases happen in that community. And you can't just take a look at the algorithm and generalize that, okay, this should be the utilization for this population. And if somebody is having 3 hysteroscopies in n number of months, we can classify that this is abnormal. And what a random reviewer told me, that is normal. You can't practice medicine like that. It has to be patient specific, patient focused. That's what I learned at Mayo Clinic, is that the most important person that matters in the practice of medicine is the patient. That is the thing. Is that, imagine having a colonoscopy, okay? Imagine having a colonoscopy, having some blood in the stool. You go to a colorectal surgeon, you got a colonoscopy. Colonoscopy was negative. That's great. You wanted that, right? That's the important aspect about doing a diagnostic test, is that you want that negative test, right? And 3 years later, you realize that your physician was charged with human trafficking because you lived in, Mississippi or, a different state. You went ahead and saw your physician, and the government then classified that procedure as, quote, not medically necessary, or performed with the instrument that they didn't like, and therefore it becomes fraudulent. And since it was a colonoscopy, it was a procedure related with genitalia, then the colorectal surgeon can be charged with human trafficking, sexual assault, sexual abuse. I had never even heard, thought, or even imagined those kind of imaginative charging theories.
So,
That is what.
so based on what you're saying there, Doc, I don't want to put you in a spot. I don't want to put you on the spot, because I don't know who's going to be watching this video, and I'm not trying to make your life worse. I want to help you. But if you had to guess, do you think my assumptions are legitimate questions and assumptions to be asking, as to, when I look at this as a layperson and I have Dr. Thorpe going over your case as an OBGYN, he's interviewed you, talked to you, looked at your case and said, I think this is a legitimate guy you should interview and look at his case. He's in your backyard. So I do that. And now am I hearing your story? Do you think that my natural common sense, I believe common sense, questions about why you're being charged, do you believe there's any validity in those things?
No, I don't actually.
No. I believe there's validity in my part. Why I think you're being charged, because they're trying to send a message. We're not wasting our time and money on certain people in an economic or racial class. We're not spending time and money on people above a certain age. Are they trying to send a message to doctors? Are they trying to push progressive socialized medicine standards? Is that what this is about?
Yeah, look, if you look at, I don't know whether I can pinpoint that diagnosis, right? But if you look around the country, I have become aware throughout this case of some just crazy charging theories affecting doctors. Maybe I'm just biased, and maybe those are the cases that I'm reading. I don't know. But this type of thing is happening and should not be happening.
It shouldn't be happening. All right. So we want to follow your case. I'm sorry you're going through this. And I'm glad Dr. Thorpe told us about it. Because again, I didn't know about your case other than I think I heard about it. Some doctor got charged. I think what I heard months ago, some doctor got charged for using the same medical device on people over and over without cleaning it. I think that's about all I heard. I was like, ooh, that's kind of gross. And then Logan and his girlfriend, who's in the medical industry, she knew about it. And then when it came to my attention, they're like, well, that was that case. Okay, that's all I knew about it was some doctor got charged for supposedly using the same devices on people over and over. Dr. Thorpe tells me reality is you actually have super, super expensive cleaning equipment that you guys bought that cleans all this equipment. So even the money that your clinic spent on the equipment to clean the medical devices proves that this is false, correct?
Yeah, so I'll give you more objective numbers. My clinic, at the time of the indictment, had one of the largest collections of multi-use devices in the country. When you look at, smaller practices like solo practitioners and things like that. So myself was the only GYN oncologist in the practice. I had a few other colleagues who were nurse practitioners and physician assistants working with me. So if you look at like nuclear practices, we had one of the largest collections of multi-use hysteroscopes. We had more than 30. Normally, a clinic would have, 2 or 3. So we had a large collection. Obviously, we invested a lot of money into multi-use devices, and our disinfection machine was actually hospital grade. Normally, the hospitals have that type of machine, but we had it. We didn't need to have it. We could do the cleaning manually. We had the machine, so people could either do it manually or they could use the machine. It was like a fail-safe mechanism, is that you want to have multiple solutions of a problem so that the staff is not dependent on one thing only, right? The next thing is that there was zero evidence of any patient harm presented at the trial. Our cleaning methods entailed either sterilization, which used a autoclave, or high-level disinfection. And that is the standard of care in office hysteroscopy around the country. We are not the only one using high-level disinfection. And so, that basically vouches for the good care that we provided to our patients. And that's the only reason why our practice grew, is that patients liked us. They liked the convenience and were very, very satisfied with the care that we were providing.
All right, we're going to keep following your case, and feel free to reach out to us, text us for any updates. We're going to obviously ask our audience to look into this and pray for you. What has this done to your clinic? Has your clinic been destroyed? You keep saying we. Were there other doctors in the clinic?
Other providers, as they are called nowadays, nurse practitioners and physician assistants. I was the only gynecologic oncologist at the clinic. That's why I say we. I mean, there were, approximately 35 employees. So it was a relatively large clinic in terms of the number of employees when you look at the nuclear clinics.
Has it been closed down now?
Yes, so the clinic is closed. Ever since I was indicted, the clinic is closed. People lost their jobs and things like that. And the operation is no longer happening.
All right. Do you have a website or anything?
Yes, I do have a website. I will share that with you guys.
Do you want the public to go there?
Sure.
What is it?
Sure. It's drsanjeevkumarsurgeon.com. And I'll share.
DR, then your name?
That's right. Surgeon.com.
Oh, surgeon. We got to get surgeon in there?
That's right.
All right.
I had to make it specific enough for people to pull it.
So say it again so I can type it in.
Yeah. Dr. Sanjeev Kumar, surgeon. So just spell just like that, my first name, last name, surgeon.com.
I think I found it.
Yeah.
What is that you're holding?
That's a big gnarly tumor that I removed. It's like bigger than a baby,
Yeah, I can see
and
that.
saved this patient's life, actually.
Wow. I just have never, other than that other doctor and now your case, this is just incredible. All right. I want to get to this more. I want you to stay in touch with us, and we'll ask our
Yes.
audience to definitely pray for you and what you're going through, and that the truth will win out. And I don't know, have you reached out? Has anyone on your team reached out to the Trump administration? We should share this with our buddy in the DOJ, Logan, to see about a pardon. Have you sought a pardon? Do you want a pardon? Or would that even, I mean, at this point, you need something that will clear your record so you can go back to work, right?
That's right. That'll be amazing. That'll be amazing. It'll be great. Whatever, obviously, I'm working hard for whatever type of resolution that can be brought. That's going to be very, very important for, both myself, my family, my patients, the community, for everybody.
Yeah. You're married, got children?
Yes, sir. Married, got 2 kids, 15 and 10.
I'm sure this has been horrific on your family.
It's bad.
We should see about our buddy. We should see about sending this as a link over to Ed Martin, Logan. Is he still in the DOJ? Is he still working on pardons? He would know who is. All right. We're after this broadcast, we'll air this tomorrow after it's live now, and then we put it out on social media and everything. We'll send a link to Ed. See if we can reach out to any of the people we know in the administration to help. This seems like there needs to be more eyes on this case. Doctor, keep us posted, will you?
Thank you. Yes, we will.
Dr.
Thank you.
Kumar checking in tonight. Pray for him, folks. All right, guys, don't forget before we go tonight, go ahead and pre-order, if you would, please, the Book of Revelation commentary. Do the pre-order, folks. Do the pre-order. It is going to be about 1,700 pages, 2 books, 2 volumes, about 1,700 pages, hardcover. Okay? Go ahead and get your order in if you would. WorldviewStore.com, WorldviewStore.com. All right, roll the music. Let's call it a night. Hey, also don't forget, our fall conference is coming up Friday night, October 23rd, Saturday, October 24th. It's free. You can attend. You got to get tickets. WorldviewTube.com/events. WorldviewTube.com/events. You can attend it for free. Now, the only way to watch it is to be there. Otherwise, you can live stream it, but only if you're a Vault member. It's just too expensive to bring all the crew and everybody. So if you want to live stream it this fall, along with a few other special things we're doing this summer and fall, join the Vault if you would, please. As little as $7.99 a month. WorldviewTube.com/vault. WorldviewTube.com/vault. Till next time, I'm Brandon House. May God save America. Take care.